Hello, Star Wars fans. Hey, they're just 47 days until Christmas 2021. Oh, we're almost down to the 30 day notice. And I put in the crawler here where we'll be doing virtual visits. It's Zuhu, and you can see the link down there. I'll tell you that they're not taking reservations just yet. But that should happen any day. I put my availability in there over the weekend. I actually had my first online visits yesterday with some folks in Tallahassee, Florida. And so that's already starting. And so if you guys would like a virtual visit with Santa, and you go to the website when it opens up, you use that code Jingle40, and you can get Star Wars Santa as your Santa, of course, in full Santa getup. Not, not like this. I'll be fully in the Santa gear. So, and it's good to see you all. There are some notes here at the very top of the show. And Will Morgan, Meta Egg. You guys, if you've not checked out Meta Egg, he has a video coming out this Wednesday, I believe. Wednesday, I saw the notice come out where he's going to talk about the Bad Batch. More specifically, he'll be talking about Omega. And I love Will Morgan's content. I look forward to seeing that come out. And hopefully we'll get Will Morgan on here and we'll talk about it a bit. And we'll live stream together. So you guys, thank you so much for being here. And Will, thank you for being here. Trinity, I saw... Oh, Second Street Marvel is here, and many of our normals. Callisto, hey, I saw Callisto. You asked me a question on Discord about Star Wars Theories video this morning about the Force Dyad. I'll get back to you on that there. Which you guys, if you've not checked out our Discord, please come out and join our Discord. We have dialogue there all the time, discourse back and forth. And it is a great place to be. So with all of that kind of being taken care of off the top, we've got our friend Jason Ward here. Let's bring Jason in. And Jason, I've got a big question to ask you right at the top of the show.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I was visiting Santa on the zoo thing, and I'm on a show. I was going to tell you what I want. I want Kathleen Kennedy fired. No,
no.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, what's up?
Hey, so the non-Star Wars question of the day is daylight savings time, pro or con? You for or against it?
I'm against it. We're not farming anymore. We don't need it. Let's just set it where it should be and stop messing with my old man brains.
Exactly. Yeah. It's tough for me. I am really dragging today. I talked to Mrs. Claus this morning. I had my energy drink this morning. I had a cup of coffee this morning. Had to go back for more coffee. I've still got it here, working on it. It is a really rough day, and I know you gain an hour, theoretically. But it still just messes with my body clock, and I hate it getting dark so early. Just set it on a time and leave it there. And I really don't care. Right? You can take a great big wheel, spin it, and whatever time it lands on, you set your clocks and then leave it alone. I don't care if noon is like 3 a.m. It doesn't matter. Like, pick it. Let's go with it.
Yeah. The idea is if you have less nighttime, you have less crime. Or more nighttime, less crime. The other side is more daytime, more money spent. So it makes no sense, but it's pick one. Let's just go with one. It
makes me crazy. And I know like India is a half hour off from us. So it's like they split the difference and said, well,
I like that.
A billion people or however many there are in India. They're like the second most populous country in the world. Fine. Let's just split it. Take a half hour between the two, set it and leave it alone. We'll be on the same, top of the hour as India, off from everybody else. Yeah.
I'm into that.
I absolutely hate the time change, and both 2 times a year I campaign against it, and I have zero influence. I know that there have been many states that have kind of introduced legislation to stop doing it, but you have some states like Arizona that don't. But here we are. They make me crazy.
Yeah, it just it makes no sense to me at all. I mean, it does nothing but mess with my life. It does. There's no positive side in my life to it, one way or the other.
And I've seen studies that say traffic accidents go up both times. So
Mm,
it actually leads to more traffic accidents, fatalities, injuries, all of that. So, for the good of the people, let's stop
yeah,
it.
yeah. My kid just got up super early and was like, "Dad, will you put lightsaber mods and blade and sorcery for me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing up? This doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, it's yesterday we're chilling out in the evening and it starts getting dark. I'm like, what time is it? It's like 4:30. Good gracious, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Yeah. So, so yes, I'm drinking coffee. The Mio Energy folks, they've not sponsored my streams yet, so it's coffee today. Uh, there's Kayla, Star Wars channel or daylight savings rant. Well, twice a year, Kayla, you're gonna get, you're gonna get a
Twice.
daylight savings rant, and this is one of them. So I thought it would be fun to kind of kick off with that, go off topic and, and just have fun. There have been a ton of rumors come out over the last few days, leading up to Disney Plus Day, which is coming this Friday, by the way. It's pretty exciting. Oh, I've got stuff to share. I was going to show
All
this.
right.
There's the Zoohoo page. That's what it looks like. If you go, you can see
Wait,
there's a
wait, that's not that guy looks different. What's going on here?
he's imposter. No, that's what the page looks like. They're really building up. It's a wait list right now, so it'll be rolling out with actual appointments very soon. So there's that, and I wanted to bring this up because there are a couple other pages to show here. Let me see if I can get the right window open. Here we go. So Disney Plus Day is coming this Friday. We learned from this that it starts at 9 a.m. Eastern. So early morning for you, Jason.
Yeah, and what is that? The Earth needs to stop this stuff.
9 a.m. 9 a.m. Eastern. That's great for me because it's supposed to be like 9 to 11. And normally on Fridays, when Meg is available, we would do a live stream together, sort of a news of the week. I'm not sure. I see Meg in the comments here. She's she's here to stir up trouble, but I'm not sure if Meg will have enough time to digest all the information, get her video out before the noon live stream. But we will try to cover it during the live stream on Friday, with or without Meg. And Jason, if you're available, maybe we'll get you in. But yeah, I suspect you'll be doing the same thing.
Probably.
An hour afterwards is not enough time to digest everything, get the videos made, get everything ready to go. So we'll cover it here. There's a ton of stuff being released. It's a big deal. And we should get Green Bear. So can we pick the Santa we want? You can. If you use that Jingle 40, you get me. Otherwise, you get a random pick from the batch. Hey, Matthew Cruz has renewed his membership. Good to see you there.
So clones. The secret is clones. There are clones of Santa.
That's right. That's right. 4 months of membership. Thank you so much. Chilling in South Korea. Oh my goodness. Military. A lot of military presence in South Korea there. There's Meg causing trouble. So I wanted to bring that up. Look, a lot of the rumors come out, and I know Star Wars News Network kind of started it last week by saying that there's a unannounced movie that's going to be announced, not one that we've heard of before, which has led to all kinds of irresponsible speculation. We like to say, be responsible with your speculation here, right? Could that movie be an old Knights of the Old Republic? Sure, it could be. Could that movie be Ryan Johnson's? Sure, it could be, but nobody knows. That's that's the point. There's tons and tons of speculation what it could be. The only thing that we've heard is, and it's from Star Wars News Network, which, by the way, I love those guys. I think they do great work. Uh, they didn't say, "Look, it's a Knights of the Old Republic." They didn't say this is a Revan movie. They didn't say that it's a Darth Bane movie. It's something, right?
Right. Right. And there was I can't remember what the Twitter account is called. But a Twitter account actually kicked that off, I believe.
Yeah.
The rumor of it, and I think it was Big Screen Leaks. Big Screen Leaks is the actual original source of the rumor, and they were right about the Boba Fett trailer coming out the day that it did. So I think
Yes.
that is a very important like connection to make in that. But also, if it happens, I don't think Big Screen Leaks said it was an Old Republic movie.
No, I don't think they did either.
Yeah, they just left it as like there's a movie coming. Where we run into some, I think, dicey territory in this is that if a movie is announced and it is right, but then it's not an Old Republic movie, it could be the best movie ever now, and it's going to get backlash. That's what kind of it makes me go, ooh, I hope that's correct, because
Right.
you know, it's
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause I think it was about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, and Josh Lucas at Den of Nerds, I remember he did a story on it, and he had Lord Callis on to talk about Darth Bane, because there were a lot of rumors going around about Darth Bane being in a subject of a movie or show.
yeah.
And so he kind of did a deep dive into who is Darth Bane, and not the same, by the way, as Cad Bane. Darth Bane isn't the Cad Bane going into the Sith. It's
They're like third cousins or something. Maybe. Probably.
so yeah, Darth Cad Bane. It's a no, there were some rumors of Cad Bane, so we don't know. Could it be a Jar Jar prequel story? Oh, sure it could.
I hope so.
As Ducky suggests, well, we could get a Jar Jar prequel story. That'd be wonderful. Solo 2. Yes, Gary, make Solo 2 happen. Absolutely could be Solo 2-esque, but we don't know. That's the whole point of it. Is it High Republic, Old Republic, No Republic? There's only speculation.
And I want to throw in there, not to try to co-opt anyone's scoops for the record, but that it like a few days before that, I had talked about how there was a lot of stuff going on at Manhattan Beach, and in that story, I was very careful to make sure that I wasn't saying it was just TV shows, and that was for a reason. So I do think that the rumor has credibility. I think that it has legs. What it is, that's where I'm like, beats me.
It's the same. I was giving some folks a hard time on Discord about the whole is Fennec Shand talking to Luke Skywalker in that Boba Fett trailer. I'm like, guys, you're making stuff up. Like they're just making stuff up at this point. Is he talking to him? Is she talking to Luke Skywalker? Could be. It could actually be some other bounty hunter. It could be somebody who is coming there to challenge Boba Fett's claim over this whatever.
Would Luke Skywalker really stand there again? Would he stand right there again? I think he'd be like, I'm going to stay at the door. Hey, you guys, stop what you're doing. I'm not standing right there. That's what I think. But
I don't think she's talking to Luke Skywalker there. And I saw Meg did a video on it. Meg kind of bought into Josh Lucas's theory as well. Maybe she's talking to him, but at this point, that's just made up, like out of your own head canon.
It's fun, but yeah,
it's fun. But you find out that she's actually talking to, some bum off the street, then you could be disappointed.
Probably some actor who Dave Filoni bumped into in the line of a Chipotle in LA and said, "Yeah, you can have a role."
I'm calling it now. It is Darth Cad Bane. That's it.
I actually I looked it up. It's Larry Bane, just Larry Bane.
Larry Bane.
Yeah.
I give a Meg a hard time without her here to defend herself.
Because we love you, Meg. It's only because we love you.
I absolutely love Meg. I adore her. She's she is so good for this community, and she's just great.
Yeah.
So will I pick on her when I can? Absolutely.
And she has it coming. She has it coming big time. From you especially.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
My chat will be out of because she holds no bar. Larry Bane is an accident lawyer. Yeah. Who knows, right? So I'm just. Oh, you know what? I saw Will Morgan. I'll bet you it's Omega.
It has to be Omega.
It has to be. It has to be Omega. We've. There you go. Oh, Meg already taking her revenge out in the chat.
Mega chats.
Oh my goodness. So we're here to talk a little bit about this sequel trilogy, and it comes from this comment I got on a video some time ago. And so I want to give credit to where credit is due. The content comes from this question. It says the sequels are behind the prequels in terms of storytelling plot in general. So somebody's taking me to task on my preference of the prequels over or the sequels over the prequels, and saying that the prequels are better in terms of storytelling and plot in general. If you don't like the prequels, watch Clone Wars, which I have. I love the Clone Wars. I think they're great. And it says the prequels individually might be bad, but as an era, they're great. Had an overarching theme, which was the fall of the Republic and democracy and the rise of the Empire. In the case of the sequels, I didn't understand their theme. Could you please explain what the theme was? So somebody just trying to take me to task, which is fine. I actually welcome it. I think it's great. And it's led to this discussion. What are the themes of the sequels? And so Jason and we've already talked about the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi, and so we're here to talk a little bit today about what's the theme of the Rise of Skywalker. So Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, so on this one, for the record, is the one where I feel like it's the kind of the laziest of all of them. The interconnecting of the themes is a bit it's not my favorite. I don't feel like it thematically works very well overall, and but it picks up on the chosen family versus blood theme, and I think it's where it sort of connects it to the last three that we just had, or last two I should say. And so it basically is about what's in a name and chosen family over birth family once again. But my big thing about it, my big gripe, is does it harmonize with the Last Jedi's theme of everybody's a somebody kind of idea? Because that movie's like, hey, anybody can be Rey, anybody could be a Skywalker, is like the point of it. And then it literally goes, yeah, but she's also Palpatine's granddaughter, like at the very end. I'm like, ooh, this like kind of thematic nonsense now, in a way. And yeah, what do you think? Am I being a jerk? Am I too hard on it in that way?
I certainly understand that perspective and even share to some degree. I'm not as critical, but Rise of Skywalker is my least favorite of the sequel trilogy. And it's because I don't think that it had a clearly defined or as clearly defined theme that it executed as well. It was trying to wrap up, and I think, Mark and others was like, what are we going to do? We got a bunch of stuff to tie up, and we're trying to hit on all these points, and it was just one thing after another, and so it led to a little bit of chaos. But I do think there was a couple of themes in there. One of them being your destiny isn't set; it's based on your decisions. So
Hmm.
whether you're a Skywalker or whether you're a Palpatine, it's based on your decisions. You see that um, in Ben, I think, really clearly, where he's on this path, and then he his mom reaches out to him, right? Leia reaches out to him as he's getting ready to strike Rey down, and he makes a decision as Rey heals him, becomes Ben again, and then he chucks his lightsaber. So that's a decision right there. You can see it, like they carried it out in action, right? Like he's got his lightsaber. What am I going to do? Am I going to continue on this path, or I'm going to, go the path of Ben? And he decides to, chuck it. We also
Yeah.
see, we see others who were like Rey, really clearly as well, like set up to be Princess Palpatine, right? So Palpatine is saying, "This is your destiny. This is who you're called to be. This is what you were." I've foreseen it, or he doesn't specifically say that, but he kind of intimidates that. Look, this is what you're going to strike me down. You're going to take over the throne, and we'll continue this on. So she decides not to, right? So her decision determines her destiny, not your destiny is, right? So
Right.
that's one big theme that I see. The other is the and more is the overarching. So we've kind of talked about micro and macro. At the
Yeah.
macro level, it was more the universe, right? All the people overtake the emperor, right? Palpatine, the first order, the new order, the whatever it is order, right?
Yeah.
It's before we had the rebellion defeating, but now it's not the rebellion, it's not the resistance, it's the entire universe. It's all the people, which ties into another kind of micro theme was together we conquer, divided, right, is defeat. So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Dan Zier from Coffee with Kenobi did an article I wanted to look it up before this and I just totally forgot, for StarWars.com. And in his article, he said, like one of the themes was standing up to bullies. And I was like a little bit like, when you stand up, then everybody else will. And I was a little bit like, it's definitely there. I wasn't sure if I totally agreed with them or not. That's what I wanted to ask you on was, would you say that was a theme or something that just happens in the story?
I think it's just something that happens because the theme seems to be more divided we fall, right? Together
Yeah.
and what Palpatine had been doing and what then the First Order had been doing is dividing the people. And we see very clearly when Poe goes and meets what's her name?
Zori.
Zori Bliss, right?
Hmm.
She basically tells him that you first kind of get it narrated to you there, where it's like there's more of us than you think. Like we're more powerful. There are more people out there, that kind of thing. Because at the end of Last Jedi, the message goes out, nobody replies.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the divided we fail, and when they all come together at the end, they can fight against the oppression. They can overtake. And if you wanted to then turn that into the oppressors as our bullies, and we can overtake them. Well, it took that coming together, right? Even the resistance itself, all attacking Exegol, wasn't enough. They were going to fall because everybody else was sitting out, right?
Yeah. So why do you think the call was answered? Was it because of Luke Skywalker? Was the call put out in The Last Jedi before Luke did what he did? And
Whoa,
so
good
people,
question.
no one shows up, and then because that's one of the things that it does not actually beat over your head or make very clear whatsoever is why do they answer the call the second time? I mean, Lando is pretty charming. but they don't show us, if that had anything to do with it. They don't even show us why Lando changes his mind at all.
Right.
he just does.
He's like, okay, like you go out and get the call
Yeah.
out. Right. If Princess Leia can't do it, right, she sends her call out. Nobody responds to her, but then people do respond to Lando. That seems odd. And what
Yeah.
happened in between Leia's call and Lando's call to make it so much different? It's a really good question. Is it?
Yeah,
is it
it's very
just
bizarre.
Is it just that because Palpatine is such a known enemy, right? He is such a known bad guy. This known thing is worse than what we had imagined the First Order to be, and so with that extra impetus of the threat of Palpatine, now we have to, whether we live or die, we have to respond now.
Right. But once again, it just does it. It doesn't really. And so, anyways, I don't want to get us too far off
Yeah.
the theme stuff, which I will do. But but I thought that one of the things that is the most like groaned about, though, to go back to the name stuff, it really is a big deal in the movie. I mean, they set up Rey going to the Aki Aki festival. This lady comes up to her, puts a funny looking necklace on, like she's at a Mardi Gras or something.
Right.
and then she's like, hey, here's my name. What's your name? It's really kind of like very obvious what they're doing with it. But they go and they like say it, and she's like, I don't have anybody. I'm nobody, kind of thing. And then a few minutes later, he's like, oh, I know your story. Kylo's like, I know your story. And then I know who you are and all this stuff. And just tells her. And I actually thought the moment he told her is very kind of forgettable. When I watched it last night, I was like, oh, that's when that happens. You know what I mean? When he tells her, it wasn't very bold. And yeah, so at the end, I think that one of the things with the theme that gets stepped on is when she says Rey Skywalker and practically looks at the camera. That makes a lot of people groan. And I just think that I do think that was appropriate. I think in terms of reasoning and motivation, I think it's all there. I think it's simply the execution of that theme that was a little bit very on the nose. And on a side note of that, that original ending had Poe, Rey, and Finn all there together. And the lady doesn't come up to them, and they kind of come to this other conclusion that they are family. And it was going to end with them all looking at the Tatooine sons there. And then you have the two sons, and then little BB-8's head comes into frame and is like the third little one. And then that was the end of it. And that's where they were going. That's how it was going to end. And they refilmed it. And so that stuff came later in production during the reshoots, the Rey Skywalker stuff. It didn't have a long time to sit there.
Yeah, my complaints with the Rise of Skywalker are some of the decisions that they did make. Throwing the Reylo bit in there was half baked, and it didn't even satisfy the Reylos. Right? Yeah, Reylos are still just as mad, even more. Because they didn't execute it the way that it should have been, and from their perspective. It's just like, hey, we'll throw this in here to satisfy this demand, but they didn't do that right. I thought that they didn't really carry out well Rey being Rey Skywalker. I think her destiny of just being Rey, going from she has this repeating theme throughout the trilogy of just Rey. Right, and every time it's sort of this
Meg's comment just cracked me up. Sorry.
Meg, look, when you mentioned beads and Mardi Gras, I was afraid. I'm like, oh no. Maybe Meg hasn't been to Mardi Gras. She's not familiar with the earning of beads.
I was like, all right, Rey, finally. Oh, never mind. It didn't happen. Kylo ruined it. And then he took it from her. That's not how it works, Kylo.
That's not.
But
so I thought all the way through we kind of had this, like that was her not belonging, right? Just Rey. Like, I don't have a surname. I don't, and when she mentions that to that little girl who get, or, character, whatever,
Yeah.
that gives her the beads, like she says, 3PO translates and says, she'd like to know your surname. It's like, I don't have one. I'm just Ray. And then again, it's like, I don't belong. I don't have anything. And at the end, when it's asked Ray, I thought she could have boldly just say, just Ray. Like, I'm not a Palpatine, right? I am Ray. I am me. And at the same time, I do get the Skywalker bit. I'm okay with it. It's just Daniel Fisher. There you go. People talking about her not earning her powers.
One thing that occurred to me last night too when I was watching it is that Rey's father decides my clone daddy or whatever, my father, is a jerk. I'm not one of him. I'm going to take off. I'm going to marry this lady. I'm going to have a daughter, but I'm not going to work out a last name. It's kind of weird too. Like that he never came up with the new one, because in theory he would have, and it would have been a good one for Rey to have been like, oh, like I'm my father's daughter. I'm not Palpatine's granddaughter, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like in a certain light. On a side note, this is kind of dumb, but I still like it for what it is there's that dumb throwback line in The Force Awakens of never underestimate a droid. And then they have Rey do it in 9. Rey quotes Leia doing it. So it's a throwback to 7, which is a throwback to 4. And in a weird way, though, I think that ties into the long-standing George Lucas themes of like size matters not kind of stuff. Don't underestimate Willow Ufgood. That guy's gonna rule the planet someday. All of that kind of stuff. And I did like that they took it back there, and I don't know if it's a theme necessarily as much as like a little motif. But when we get to it should have really been more bold when they meet Dio. When Dio actually kind of becomes a prominent reason that they get to the end game. And I was like, oh, we have another never underestimate a droid moment, and it doesn't really pay off too much. And when 3PO is going to give himself up, I was like, there's so many moments that they could have used that again.
Yeah.
And just for the connectivity throughout the whole thing.
And that's again. Hey, and by the way, hey there, Jay. Thanks for stopping in. It's good to see you.
Hey.
And this is where I kind of don't earn my Disney Shield dollars because I agree. Rise of Skywalker to me missed on so many beats. I get what they were going for, and they're trying to tie these things up. But I had a big problem with a lot of things they decided to do.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned before, how they executed it. To me, I still like it better than any of the prequel movies, which is, I know, blasphemy for many people, but I just hey, the Gold Man, good to see you. To me, it didn't execute. And I've heard people say that Rise of Skywalker is their favorite Star Wars movie. That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
And that's great. For me, it's my least favorite of the sequels because it didn't. I thought so many things were set up, and it just, as you mentioned, with the whole droid bit, right? That was set up. It didn't execute it well. Rey being a Skywalker, it's fine. I get the adoption bit. I come from an adoptive family, right? My dad was adopted, and so my last name is not the one of my genealogy. It's based on being adopted. So that's fine for me. I love it. I just didn't think that they set it up or executed it well enough. And it still resonates. I get it. It just doesn't quite land for me.
Yeah, I was telling a friend about after they were like, "Did you like it? What'd you think about her being a Skywalker?" And I was like, "I feel like Rey earned the name, but they gave it to her on one of those big giant checks." instead of just being like, this is, you earned this for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can't go cash those things either.
Not really.
You
That's
yeah. You can't walk in with the billboard and say, "Hey, I'd like to cash this." It's a prop.
and like one of the things that I wanted to like I was trying to figure out as I was thinking about what we did in the last episodes a little bit and trying to just, I was like, is there a difference between, like, in terms of like the monomyth, like return home and leaving and stuff like that, like The Force Awakens is weird in the sense that you have characters who are going home and characters who are leaving home at the same time, and so that's kind of I considered it to be a theme, but I don't know if it's more of a monomyth attribute necessary instead. But as we were getting to this one, I was like, one of the things about this one is everybody does go home.
Well, and which brings up a point at the end when Rey goes to Tatooine, she buries the lightsabers. A lot of people think that she's going there to live. I'm like, I don't get that impression.
I know why
at all.
I know why. I can tell you exactly why people think that, because there was a fake made up rumor that was a fan rumor that after I put out a story about what happens to Ben, and the fan rumor was that her and Ben go there and live together, and Ben doesn't die. Ben lives Ben lives on the farm. He goes and becomes a farmer. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, and that's not true whatsoever. But that permeated as big as the truth. And then in the end, people soon started to take that and just took that to mean, oh, Rey lives there then. Someone was going to live there. At the end of the day, someone was going to live there as far as they were concerned. But,
I don't think so. I don't think she was going there to live.
No.
We see at the end, right after the exegol and everybody comes back, the big celebration scene where she lands, she comes in, and her family, so to speak, right, between Finn and Poe, they come together and embrace. She realizes she belongs, and when she's asked that question by the lady on Tatooine, like, who are you? And she says, Rey Skywalker. She sees the Force images of Luke and Leia. They're kind of accepting her, and she comes up with that. Look, not a fan of it.
I blame the editing. I really think that Rey should have took care of the business on Tatooine, and then it should have had the moment where everybody is hugging at the end, in the big celebration, like Return of the Jedi, when everybody is all together, and you're like, that looks cozy, and instead she's alone again.
Right.
That, I think, was an editorial mistake, personally.
Yeah, I think so too. I like what you mentioned, where in the original they were all standing there watching the binary sunset together.
Yeah,
that would have been better for her, showing this is her family, rather than kind of implying it and leaving it for us to figure out. And then, as many people have complained with the sequel trilogy as a whole, that much of it is left out. And I've mentioned it sort of like taking going on a vacation somewhere and just seeing the tourist attractions, right? Like, you get to see some high points, right? You get to go ride the roller coasters, you get to go see the Grand Canyon, whatever it is, but you don't really get a sense for what it is to live there. You don't get a sense for the culture, the whole environment of that area. You only get the tourist attractions, right? So to me, the sequel trilogy is like going to see the tourist attractions.
Yeah.
You're missing so much, and they're trying to fill it in, and I think they're doing a decent job of it. The novelizations started it. The comics and some of the other adaptations that are coming in are starting to fill it out so that we get the true sense of it all. But the complaints of, well, you should have put it in the movie, I think are somewhat valid. But it's look, if I'm going to accept any criticisms of the sequels and embrace them fully, it's that they fall short of what they could have been, and I think that's true.
Yeah, well, I think it's actually like a product of a larger issue in terms of just Hollywood itself, is that trilogies they don't really make a lot of sense. staying in the trilogy format is not really the greatest idea. And how many trilogies? I mean, I love Return of the Jedi, but most people would say that's the worst of the original trilogy. And most people love Terminator 1, Terminator 2, but who likes any version of Terminator 3 that has ever existed? Not really, most people don't.
Right. And Goldman, I appreciate your comment there. I agree with you. I think you're summarizing here what Jason and I are both saying. So sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
Oh yeah. That's a good comment. Yeah. Yeah, but we are in a place with Star Wars where it doesn't so basically like what they're doing, and by all they have to do is just set us up to stop thinking in terms of trilogies. Stop promising trilogies and stop saying that if there's any significance to it. Back to the Future Part 3 is not the best Back to the Future movie even. It's like none of that stuff. Indiana Jones was never a trilogy that mattered. It just they were single films individually. Yeah. All of this stuff is all like it's I've been saying this like for years. I'm like, this Star Wars isn't a trilogy. This is a 9-part saga thing that we have of the Skywalkers now. Yeah. And so that movie needed to end out all of the things introduced in one trilogy to appease that era of fans, but it also had to end stuff from the previous 6 films, which it's too much for a 2-hour 20-minute movie to successfully do. And for them to do it when JJ had to start with less time than he actually needed to do it. That's the one thing about it, is there is no JJ cut because JJ never had enough time for there to be a JJ cut. There was the cut.
There is a JJ cut. It's the movie, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. There is no George Lucas cut, by the way. That's
what, do you guys even know what's going on for the last year that he sold it? He didn't sell it to go cut it for him.
And look, Darth Chaos, what your question here is spot on. When I heard the sequel trilogy announced, I immediately ruled out the Legends Luke, because the actors, the characters themselves, the actors of those characters had aged. It's 30 years later. This isn't the Legends Luke that happened 5 years later or 10 years later. This is 30 years later. Mark Hamill isn't in his 30s. He's, pushing 60. You've got Carrie Fisher in her 60s. Like, these people are, the people are older. And you couldn't pick up from that Legends piece. That they did it at the end of Mandalorian Season 2 was phenomenal. Oh my goodness, that was terrific. I didn't expect them. I did predict that we were going to get Mark Hamill as Luke, because I knew they wanted to put it in the credits, right? Starring Luke Skywalker or Mark Hamill, right? Like, I knew they wanted that, so I knew they were going to do it. But I fully expected them to bring in a younger actor, which I still expect them to do if you're going to explore Legends Luke. But that ship sailed when Lucas made the prequels instead of the sequels. Had Lucas made the sequels at the time of the prequels, we would be in an entirely different place. He could have made the sequels that he wanted, but it's terrible that he didn't, because he let the time pass.
Yeah.
And so you get what you got. And
and I would say that it I a lot of times think that we don't look at the expanded universe and what we got like in the correct way, in the sense that the sequel trilogy pretty much starts after the expanded universe had it even happened. Yeah. When you get down to it, like where Luke's at, like when that very last expanded universe book where Luke kind of like hangs it up, that's about the age that he is when we get to him in the sequel trilogy. So what I'm saying is that you could see a lot of the stuff that you loved in Legends adapted and brought into Luke still. It doesn't mean that stuff still may not. I don't mean to say that it's going to happen, but it doesn't mean that the things that you loved about Luke didn't happen as well or can't still happen. Because I think there's like a good 35 years time to let a lot of that stuff go down now.
I agree. And Meg is spot on with her other comment, and I talked about it with some other folks repeatedly, is Disney Plus, and to build off of what you just mentioned about trilogies and movie format not being the best way to do story exposition, right? They They just don't have enough room to breathe like that. And to give you the full story arc that maybe people want, you have to leave big segments out. You see that in the original trilogy and in the prequels. Look at the difference between Jake Lloyd, Anakin, and Hayden Christensen Anakin. Right? There's a gap. Now, did they complete the story well enough? For many people, yeah. But for many people, no. and to Meg's point here, Lucas created my entire childhood. The prequels were your Star Wars growing up. Had he made his sequels instead with Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie, had he made that instead, that would have been what you grew up with. That would have been the thing that you embraced, and it would have been his story. And I think a lot of people would have loved it. I know I would have preferred to see that instead of the problems introduced through the prequels that still plague me to this day. But I understand, and I think that and I'm super excited for Disney Plus Day, because we're going to get so much Star Wars in 2022 in the form of exposition, right? Like these series that are able to breathe, that are able to tell a story over time. And I think it's much better.
Yeah. I think you're spot on, is the fact that so far we've only had one live action television series, but it works because it's not being put into any box at all. It's getting to do and go where it needs to go. And that's why I was excited, because I feel like Lucasfilm came to that conclusion when they hired the Game of Thrones guys to make a series, not a trilogy. I think that was telling.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And it's been a while since I mentioned it, but really the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is the very first example of taking a movie and turning it into a series. Because we know that script initially started off as a movie, and we're getting it as a series. And to me, I'm more excited about series announcements than movies. And I get it. People, when they think of Star Wars, they think of these epic movies, right? That people go to, and they're just major events. And I don't know your thought, but when might we, or will we ever, get another period of time like we did when, say, The Phantom Menace came out, or when The Force Awakens came out, where it's this giant event because it's Star Wars coming back? I think those days have sailed.
No, I think it would require them to literally shelve Star Wars, and I don't see what the financial incentive to ever do that would be. So I think the only way for them to get their third coming of Star Wars, or whatever you want to call it, is to do the Avengers model. The Marvel movies do okay, but those Avengers movies, those seriously bring in the money. And is to do the crossover events where it builds and culminates. So if they can make a culmination, that could be it. But even that won't be the same. It'll be different, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I think so too. As Marvel is trying to do now, with kind of setting up this, what is it, the fourth wave? They're doing it on Disney Plus with all these series. And the movies, they're kind of, it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
I think we're going into an era of entertainment that is different than the eras that came before. It's just, it's transformative in our lives. We're being able to see it like in real time. And fortunately or unfortunately, whichever side of the fence you're on with that, Lucasfilm was perfectly poised with Filoni and Favreau leading The Mandalorian at the perfect time. Like, I don't know that you could have planned it any better, with the pandemic and all that coming in on top, where it threw people into the streaming services, and you get a fantastic story told by some fantastic storytellers.
Yeah.
and it establishes this new kind of era for Star Wars that is going to play out in these fantastic shows. To me.
And I consider myself a bit of a futurist, and I love VR, and I spent a lot of time in VR. And I will be honest with you that I don't see in 20 years unless VR, unless, Facebook changing its name still kills VR or something like that. I've done movie viewings in VR though, and they feel like you are in a movie theater. And I think it's as bad as it's ever going to be right now. So what I'm trying to say is in 10, 15 years, I would not be surprised if our movie going experiences are tied to a service and they don't really require the studios to use the theaters as a middleman. They have a lot of incentive, I think, to kill theaters.
Oh yeah,
and just distribute directly to your eye holes. You know what I mean? From there,
right. Well, and the Warner Brothers is doing it with HBO Max, right? And I know John Campia has been on a tirade against them, where they're doing these same date releases. But it's going to go that way. I'm familiar with the VR thing too. VR to me is like 3D. Right? It is an enhanced experience. It's something that you can get kind of enveloped in. But it's sort of weird to sit on the couch with 3 or 4 people wearing goggles, in your own sort of space. So to me, it doesn't seem like the same community kind of experience that you get in a theater, right? The community experience in a theater where people are cheering, laughing, whatever. You lose that.
Well, no, but right now you can go, like me and you can go, and we could decide that we're going to watch Batman 1989, and all of us can go right now and pay, which is what sucks about it, is we all have to pay like $9.95, but we can all pay, but we're in the theater and we can have talking on. Exactly. We can talk to each other and you can't. So what I'm saying is, I'm with you though. I think that there is something to be said about meeting in person and that actual like in-person experience. But look at how we celebrate fandom every day. Do we celebrate fandom with the actual people we see Star Wars with in real life as much as we do, like, you know what I mean? I say real life, it's not the right word, but it's like, you and I haven't got to ever go to the movies together. And I'm going to have spent more hours with you talking about Star Wars than I ever will seeing Star Wars with people who live locally.
That's true. And Will Morgan's not wrong. We have things like Discord where we can do live watch parties, and the streaming services make it so that you can set up these synchronized watches. And they go by different names, but it's the same idea, where you watch the thing together, and then you can chat on it in Discord. You can have these discussions, but it's just going to be different. For better or for worse, it is. And,
but I'm looking forward to the time when we all could like stay up late and watch The Mandalorian together in a virtual theater, and as we do that all the time with the Marvel movies and the Star Wars shows and Star Wars movies and stuff like that, will we care less about the theatrical? Does it kick the legs out of that being a special experience, but does it become less special? I don't know.
Well, it's going to become a boomer meme at some point, right? Like, I want to go to the theater and cheer with everybody else. And the kids are saying, just watch it on your phone, dude.
Yeah. Well, do you know what George Lucas and Steven Spielberg said about the theater about 10 years ago?
No.
They said it's going to become for fancy people who want to go out and spend $200 buying $75 glass of wine and eating a $100 dinner and then seeing a movie at the theater. It's going to become the theater, is what they were basically saying. And it's kind of hard to with the recent developments and where things are going. I kind of don't know if they're completely wrong. I don't think they were right for the right reasons, but I think that it's all coming to that place, that same place.
Yeah. We've kind of strayed really far. Which I think is also indicative of the theme of the show. What is the theme of The Rise of Skywalker? I think we both kind of agree that the themes are there to be found, but they're just not executed in a way that, at least for me, not as well as Force Awakens or Last Jedi. Like them or dislike them, the themes of the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are clear, and they hit on those themes, and they're executed very well. Again, like or dislike the story, the themes are executed very well. The Rise of Skywalker, I thought, did not execute the theme well. I mean, sure, you get the, united, divided we fail, united I can't, why can't I get that saying right? It's a saying. It's a thing.
It's a saying.
I can't get it right.
Yeah, no, but it does. It speaks to the third act of a trilogy is the one that really is supposed to solidify everything that it has already said.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to say it again, reiterate it, and then say, see? And and in truth, it didn't know how to like do it. It didn't know how to accept what it wanted and what it didn't. And I think it's ultimately like I said, JJ's fault, but also JJ's inability to be bold. Everything has to be about ambiguity to let you fill in the stuff and make it good. This one functionally just doesn't work that way, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, and JJ's earned his reputation in not really being able to land. Right? He's great at takeoffs. He sucks at landings.
Fly, yes. Land, no. Last Crusade, watch it.
Yeah. It's just it's a repeated theme of his career. It's really divided we fall, united we climb, divided we fall. Is that it?
That's a good one.
Yeah, close enough, Sheev. But I think that's really what they were trying to tie in, but it didn't pay off. And the same thing, I've seen the criticisms of like Palpatine being thrown in as a break the glass kind of in case of emergency. I think there were enough seeds to show that was part of the plan, but going all the way back before Force Awakens was released, there with the Aftermath books, there are seeds planted there that Palpatine is he's got this.
Fans think that a creator is only able to hold one idea in their head at a time, and that just is not the case, because Rey being a Kenobi and Rey being a Palpatine, Rey being a Solo, we're all on the table, and it was just when we got to the 9th one that they finally picked which one they were going to do, and it was and I do agree with the break glass in case of Palp emergency moment, because that's what they did. Yeah.
Well, I think they had planned it like he was going to be behind the scenes the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think actually Star Wars Theory did a thing early on, like, is Snoke really Palpatine? And we learned that he's not, literally Palpatine, but he is the force behind what is going on, including Snoke's sort of presence. But I just don't think they set it up well enough that the payoff feels earned. And we talk about this earned, did Rey earn her beads? Sort of thing, right? Like, I don't know that we see many things in Rise of Skywalker earned. Like, they tell the story, it's there. It's a gorgeous movie, by the way. I absolutely love it. But it's just, to me, it missed on so many points that were possible.
Yeah, there's like a really good scene, by the way, that was thematically could have tied so much of it together. And that's when Kylo is telling Rey, I'm the grandson of Darth Vader. My mother is the daughter of Darth Vader, and you're the granddaughter of Palpatine. Like, when they're like putting that in, like right there, like, I think that was supposed to be a really important scene, and instead it's very forgettable. And that's a very big script mistake, I think, that they made with when that happens and how it happens.
Yeah.
Because that should have actually probably been the underlying theme of, because they even mentioned they're like on a throne together and stuff like that. And when they forego the throne, it feels more like he's just sad about what he did to his daddy. And it doesn't connect, like it's like it's being pulled in all these different ways. There's a forks in the road on the themes here.
Yep.
That I just can't. You have to work as a fan to make it work, and boy, is it hard.
It is, and I saw they clarified it. It's united we stand, divided we fall. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the saying. Thank you so much, Sheev the Wise. He came up with it.
Sheev did it.
I think that's what Rise was supposed to bring. right? Like the United We Stand, and they kind of set it up early on with Zori, and you see it kind of carried through, and then it ends. But I think I love what you brought up earlier. Like Leia sends out the call, nobody responds. Lando goes out, sends out the call, everybody responds. What was the difference? Well, what you just said as well. Like you have to work it out. You have to figure that out. You have to do the legwork, which it feels unearned again, right? Yeah. It really seems unearned.
It really does. It's like the themes of the first two films in the saga, or in the trilogy, I should say, are clear, and this one it just doesn't know. It doesn't know what to do. Yeah. And that's why I think the person who took you to task in the comment section a while ago, I think that's why they did it, because the ninth one made it confusing.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't agree with the hey, JJ just retconned everything RJ did. I don't agree with that. I think he was trying to land them, but he sucks at landing. He just sucks at it.
Well, I number one is that like people like to turn it into a wrestling match, and it really wasn't that big of a wrestling match. JJ was executive producing and was completely there while Rian Johnson was writing that movie. Like it wasn't like these things happened outside of each other. They were in the Lucasfilm system together, knowing exactly what one another was doing at those times. And so if there had been major, huge problems, JJ was a bit like, this is great. That's all he kept saying. This is great.
Right. And yeah, there are all kinds of narratives out there people spin to their own kind of getting your own headcanon. They've got these stories built up in their head, and they take evidence to support it. And I just don't think that's necessarily true. And Darth Armitage, I see what you said. Darth Armitage.
Armitage.
I see what you say. And I see where a lot of people agree with you. I disagree. And I think that Rey's character, to me, is far more developed than a lot of people give it credit to be. But I can understand why you get there. And that's fine. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong or that you need to think differently at all.
But you do. No, I'm kidding.
But I think at the same point, you can't take people who do see it and tell them that they're wrong, right? You can't tell me I'm wrong, and I won't tell you you're wrong.
No, the dyad though, and that is. Sorry, I know we're like running late because we got so sidetracked so many times. The dyad is a concept that I think masquerades as a major theme, but it also, the dyad does explain exactly why Rey is able to do what she does.
Yep.
And there are lines in the ninth one where he's like, "You're repressing memories. You know more than you're letting on," and in all of that right there is the big clue. So if Rey being overpowered, if you want to fix it for yourself, you need to pay attention more to the dyad stuff, and it begins to resolve a little bit. It won't solve it all for you, but it might make it better for you.
No, and that's a really good point, Jason, because look, the prequels to me didn't execute that arc very well. And it took a lot of retconning. It's taken a lot of fan theories. It's taken the Clone Wars animated series, 7 seasons of it, to kind of develop out what was missing for me, and it's still missing. So here's my point: is if the sequels missed for you, it's likely to never completely fill in.
Yeah.
Just as the prequels never fully filled in for me, but they can fill in some of it. And if you're willing to do some of the headcanon work yourself, as you mentioned, like if you're willing to do some of that headcanon work, you can get there in a much more kind of satisfactory way. And it's a shame that you have to work that out. And I think that seeing Star Wars move away from trilogies into more series is a great solution to some of the problems that it suffered through the sequels.
Yeah, it wasn't like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers were successful in their day because they were released in multiples of 3, or Mandalorian. Can you imagine if it was released in multiples of 3 episodes? Like it's a silly number.
Yeah, I like the idea. Like, trilogies make sense. We see it in Lord of the Rings. We see it in. There's tons of examples that you can bring up uh, that work. It's just, I think, fandoms as they evolve want more of the story. And one of the things I see, like, we know the original trilogy was made up as they went, right? George Lucas just made stuff up as he went. He
Yeah,
retconned things midstream. Like, he changed directions. That story wasn't fully fleshed out or vetted, before they got there.
right.
Um,
Which is
but
why
what
Luke
happened?
kisses his sister.
Exactly, and as well as many other, and how Vader killed your father, but he is your father. But anyway, you have to work those things out. But what happens is then over 30 years, the fandom comes along. They start to fill things in. Stories come along, uh, and people get enthused and they buy into it. Well, then you want more of the story told. You want these fully fleshed out story arcs that can't deliver in that same platform. We're starting to see it with Harry Potter and the prequels there that are getting torn apart. We're seeing it. There's example after example after example where they just fail. They fail, fail, fail. And where you get here with these series is more time to tell better stories. And you develop your characters more, you develop your story more, you're able to show people more because it's got more room to breathe. Um, what was somebody did the math? How many hours? I think Meg did. Like, how many hours are we going to get of Rogue One? Like, if
Hmm.
it's 12 episodes, you're talking 6 hours. There's a trilogy right there.
Yeah,
Right? Just one season.
yeah. Andor's gonna have more development in terms of motivations and ideas and what they want and what they need, kind of concepts, being dealt with than any of these movies could do with their 3 main characters.
Yeah,
And
in
and
three
and and,
movies.
and on a side note, like, once again, too, remember how on the last episode we were talking about how, like, Finn and Poe kind of seem like they take from each other.
Yeah.
Like there's
Oh,
there's like there's like totally stuff there. When I was watching it last night, I was like, when Jana shows up, she's an ex stormtrooper. She literally has every reason to have a past with Finn, and for Finn, and I'm like, but then you have the story with Poe,
right.
and I feel like it was just because they wanted to make sure everybody knew that Poe wasn't gay, for some reason, because of what they were talking about with those two, and
Yeah.
and with Poe and Finn, and it's like they take it into the to that direction, and I'm like, once again, if this was one character, all of the themes and ideas, all and the plot would have been so concise, and instead it's a mess. Zori
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. Janna does make sense, but then Janna makes no sense that she's there because they don't do anything with her.
And is she Lando's daughter, granddaughter?
She was
Just on the.
Lando's daughter. I can tell you that. That's why Lando shoots that arrow. That's why you
I,
see Lando show up and shoot an arrow at a guy's neck. They were that was the reason behind that. It's
I
dumb,
know,
but that's the
I
reason.
know. And then they didn't execute it. So again, it's more missed opportunities. And Rise of Skywalker to me, just as a summary, is missed opportunities
Yeah.
all over the board. I think it's a fine movie in and of itself, but a lot of missed opportunities. And as Mark put, like, Andor's 12 episodes, something like that. It's going to be like 6 hours of content or more, and that's just one season. We've already heard it's been renewed for a second season, probably a third.
Yeah.
So over the course of Andor, the series, you're going to get far more character development, plot development, story development, like everything, a sub,
Yeah.
you know, all kinds of things that are going to allow people to get engaged with it that you wouldn't get in a movie or a trilogy, and it'd take far longer to execute. Right, like you get 2 hours a year, maybe.
Yeah. And
Uh,
and and that's why it doesn't matter that he dies in Rogue One. You're gonna have so much of his life to explore in those episodes that by the time he does die, you're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It wasn't about his death.
Right, right. So I see folks here Meg went to make tea. What did I miss? You know, you missed it all. You, there was lots of opportunity. Look, Meg, I love you to death. You're a godsend to me and this community. So thank you for being here. Thank all of you. And Jason, I've had a great time breaking down each of these movies individually with you. I think next week we'll try to just wrap up the sequel trilogy as a whole.
Okay.
You know, what was the theme of the sequel trilogy? And we will have lots of Disney Plus Day stuff to kind of summarize as well. It should be great. It should be great. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for your time. You guys, make sure you go check out makingstarwars.net and Jason's channel. The links are in the description here. And you and Sketchy Rob planning to be on here shortly?
Yep, we're going to do about 45 minutes from now. We're going to go live talking about, believe it or not, Jeffrey Dahmer and his connection to Star Wars and Star Wars C-3POs. It's a whole serial theme, if you get it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, no. So you guys go check that out. And if you're familiar, there is a dad joke of the day coming up after the outro. So be sure to stick in for that. And this time I've put it in text. So if I get cut off before I deliver that you'll be able to read it. So Jason, hang on. We'll be right back. You guys, thank you for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas. And may the Force be with you always. Bye-bye. Oh, the Mike Porter dad joke. I think the front of the house has a crush on you. It seems to adore you. Oh, bye-bye.